The morning light filtered through the crystal dome of the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime. Ambassador Lee Hain sat at his desk, reading through routine trade reports when his communication device began flashing red. The urgent signal meant only one thing. Something terrible had happened to human colonies. Commander Park Gina rushed into his office without knocking. Her face was pale and her hands shook as she carried a datapad. "Sir, you need to see this immediately." Reports from Kepler-4 for to be just came in. Lee Hun took the pad and began reading. His coffee grew cold as he absorbed the horrific details. The Korthok Empire had attacked 3 human settlements during the night cycle. They had not come to conquer territory or steal resources. They had come for something far worse. 17,000 people, Park, Gina whispered. Men, women, children, all taken to their research facilities. The holographic display in the center of the room activated automatically. Images appeared, showing the burnt remains of New Sol Colony. Houses stood empty, with doors hanging open. Personal belongings scattered on the ground. No bodies were found because the Korthok had taken everyone alive. Lee Hain stood up slowly. He had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 12 years. In all that time, he had never seen anything like this. The Korthok were known for their advanced technology and their cold, logical approach to warfare. But this was different. This was deliberate cruelty. "Show me the neural harvesting facilities," he said quietly. Park Gina hesitated. "Sir, the images are very disturbing. Show me." The hologram changed to display the interior of a Korthok laboratory. Hundreds of humans were connected to strange machines with wires running into their skulls. Their eyes were open but empty. Their bodies were alive, but their minds were being copied, studied, and used to power alien war machines. "They're using human consciousness to enhance their combat systems," Park Gina explained. "Our neural patterns are apparently more creative and adaptable than any other species they've encountered. They can copy a human mind and use it to control their weapons." Lee Hyun closed his eyes. The Terran Accords had been signed 127 years ago after humanity's expansion wars had frightened the galaxy. Earth had agreed to limit their military power and focus on peaceful exploration. In return, all species promised to respect human colonies and treat Earth as an equal partner in galactic civilization. For over a century, it had worked. Humans had become traders, diplomats, and explorers. They had helped weaker species develop their technology. They had mediated conflicts between alien races. They'd even shared their medical knowledge to cure diseases that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. But now the Korthok had broken that sacred trust. "What's the official response from their government?" Lee Hain asked. "Counselor Velter claims it was a misunderstanding of territorial boundaries," Park Gina replied. "Says the Korthok thought those worlds were uninhabited." Lee Hyun laughed bitterly. "A misunderstanding. They systematically captured 17,000 humans and connected them to neural harvesting machines by mistake." The ambassador walked to the window overlooking the council plaza. Below, representatives from hundreds of species went about their daily business. The Altarians, with their blue skin and multiple arms, the insectoid hive queens carried by their worker drones, the energy beings of the photonic collective flickering in their containment suits. All of them had lived in peace for over a century, because humanity had chosen to be peaceful. They'd forgotten what humans were like when they were angry, sir, Park Gina said softly, or something else. The neural patterns they harvested aren't just being used for weapons. They're being sold to other species. Human creativity and problem-solving abilities are being traded like commodities throughout the black market. Lee Hain turned around. "How many species are involved?" "At least 12 that we know of. The Korthak are the suppliers, but the demand is galaxy-wide. Apparently human minds are considered the most valuable enhancement available." The ambassador sat back down at his desk. He opened a secure communication channel to Terra Command on Earth. The transmission would take several minutes to reach home, but he needed to inform the Terran Defense Council immediately. "This is Ambassador Lee Hain on Nexus Prime," he spoke into the recorder. "The Korthak Empire has violated Articles 7, 12, and 23 of the Terran Accords. They have attacked human colonies, enslaved our people, and are harvesting human consciousness for military applications. I am formally requesting a priority Alpha 7 conference." He paused before adding, "The situation is beyond diplomatic resolution. The accords have been broken by the enemy. Recommend immediate implementation of Contingency Protocol 7. Park Gina stared at him. "Sir, Alpha 7 means the accords are void," Lihan replied. "For 127 years, we've pretended to be peaceful explorers. We've hidden our true nature because we wanted to be part of galactic civilization. But some lines cannot be crossed." The communication device chimed, indicating the message had been sent. Now they had to wait for Earth's response. But Lihan already knew what it would be. He had read the classified files. He knew about the hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt. He knew about the weapons that violated every treaty humanity had ever signed. "Commander Park," he said formally, "begin evacuation procedures for all human diplomatic staff. Contact every human colony and trading post. Tell them to prepare for immediate withdrawal to secure positions. Sir, that will cause panic throughout the galaxy. Other species will think we're abandoning our commitments." "We're not abandoning anything," Lihan replied. "We're preparing for war." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. For over a century, the galaxy had known peace because humanity had chosen to be peaceful. The choice had just been revoked. Outside the window, alien diplomats continued their daily routines, unaware that everything was about to change. They had grown comfortable with the idea of humans as gentle explorers and helpful mediators. They had forgotten the history, lessons about humanity's expansion wars. They had forgotten why the Accords had been necessary in the first place. Soon, they would remember. The Korthok Empire had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had attacked humanity's children, and now every human in the galaxy was about to be reminded why their ancestors had conquered the stars, not with superior technology, but with superior will. The age of human diplomacy was ending. The age of human justice was about to begin. The underground bunkers beneath Geneva had not seen this much activity in over a century. Fleet Admiral Kim Dae-ho walked through the corridors where his grandfather had once planned humanity's expansion into the stars. The walls were lined with historical displays showing Earth's military heritage, from ancient battlefields to the great unification wars that had turned a divided planet into a single, unified power. Admiral Kim entered the main command center where the Terran Defense Council was already assembled. These were not the peaceful diplomats that the galaxy knew. These were the descendants of the military leaders who had conquered 12 star systems before the Accords forced them to stop. They had spent 127 years pretending to be farmers, traders, and explorers, but they had never forgotten their true nature. "The situation is confirmed," Admiral Kim announced to the assembled officers. 17,000 humans have been taken by the Korthak Empire. They are being used as neural templates for alien war machines. This is not just an attack on our colonies. This is an attack on human consciousness itself. Intelligence Officer Choi Min-ho stepped forward with a datapad. "Sir, we've analyzed the Korthok neural harvesting technology. It's more advanced than anything we've seen before. They can copy a human mind completely and use it to control their weapons systems." "But they've made a critical error," Admiral Kim replied. "They don't understand what they're dealing with. Every human mind carries something they can't comprehend or control." The holographic display activated, showing the Korthok fleet. Their ships were massive, gleaming vessels powered by stolen human ingenuity. But hidden within those neural patterns were things the aliens couldn't see. Human creativity, stubbornness, and the unbreakable will to protect their own kind. "Show them the deep space assets," Admiral Kim ordered. The display changed to show the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. What appeared to be mining operations were actually hidden shipyards. Massive construction facilities had been secretly building humanity's true fleet for decades. Ships that violated every treaty Earth had ever signed. "The TSS Indomitable is ready for deployment," reported Captain Lee Soo-jin. "She's old, but she's designed for one purpose: to remind the galaxy why we needed the Accords in the first place." Admiral Kim nodded. The Indomitable was a relic from humanity's expansion wars. Her hull was scarred from a dozen battles. Her weapon systems were outdated by galactic standards, but she carried something no alien ship possessed. She carried the memory of human warfare at its most brutal and effective. "What about the new ships?" asked Commander Park Jae-sung. "The Retribution-class vessels are still in final testing," Intelligence Officer Choi replied. "But the Vengeance is ready. She's our first true warship in over a century." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Vengeance was not designed for exploration or peacekeeping. She was designed to destroy entire fleets and leave nothing but expanding plasma in her wake. "Sir," asked Captain Lee, "what are our rules of engagement?" Admiral Kim looked at each officer in turn. "There are no rules. The Korthok broke the accords when they attacked our people. They declared war on humanity when they began harvesting our minds. From this moment forward, we respond as our ancestors did. With overwhelming force and absolute determination." He activated another display showing Earth's colonial network. "Begin Phase 1 immediately. Recall all deep space assets. Every human trader, explorer, and diplomat needs to return to secure positions. We're going to show the galaxy something they haven't seen in over a century." "What about the other species?" asked Commander Park. "Many of them have been our allies for decades." "They'll have to choose sides," Admiral Kim replied coldly. "Either they support justice for what was done to our people, or they support the Korthok Empire. There is no middle ground in this war." Intelligence Officer Choi brought up another display. "Sir, we've confirmed that at least 12 species are buying harvested human consciousness on the black market. This isn't just about the Korthok. It's about the entire galaxy treating human minds as commodities." The Admiral's face darkened. "Then the entire galaxy will learn the consequences of their choices." He walked to the ancient display, showing humanity's first interstellar war. "Our ancestors fought with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They had no energy shields, no faster-than-light communication, no artificial gravity. But they conquered. 12 star systems because they had something the aliens didn't understand. They had the will to do whatever was necessary to protect their own. The Korthok believe they understand warfare because they've conquered primitive species for millennia." Admiral Kim continued. "They've never faced an enemy that adapts, improvises, and refuses to yield. They've never fought humans who have decided to stop playing by galactic rules." Captain Lee raised her hand. "Sir, what about civilian casualties? The Korthok have billions of non-combatants on their worlds. The Korthok should have thought about that before they attacked our children." Admiral Kim replied, "But we're not monsters. We'll give them one chance to surrender. One chance to release our people and abandon their neural harvesting technology. If they refuse, then we'll do what humans have always done when their families are threatened." Meeting continued for several hours as the officers planned humanity's return to warfare. Supply lines were established, fleet movements coordinated, and target priorities assigned. It was like watching a sleeping giant slowly wake up and remember how to destroy its enemies. As the meeting ended, Admiral Kim stood alone in the command center. The walls around him showed the history of human conflict, from the first tribal wars to the conquest of the stars. His people had spent over a century trying to be peaceful members of galactic civilization. They had shared their technology, mediated conflicts, and helped weaker species develop their potential. But some lines could not be crossed. Some crimes demanded justice. And the Korthok had just discovered that humanity's patience was not the same as humanity's weakness. "Computer," he said to the room's artificial intelligence, "begin activation of Protocol 7. Full military mobilization. Authorization Kim Dae-ho, Fleet Admiral Terran, Defense Force." "Protocol 7 activated," the computer replied. "Time to full deployment. 72 hours. Admiral Kim smiled grimly. The Korthok had 3 days to return the stolen humans and surrender. After that, they would face something the galaxy had forgotten existed. They would face humanity at war. The Korthok capital world of Zephyria had never seen a human warship in its pristine skies. The planet's twin suns reflected off crystal spires that reached toward the stars, creating a beautiful display of light and color. But when the TSS Indomitable emerged from hyperspace, Its dark presence seemed to absorb all that beauty into its scarred hull. The ship was ancient by galactic standards. Her armor plating showed the scars of battles fought over a century ago. Her weapon systems were outdated compared to modern energy weapons. But there was something about her that made the Korthok defense fleet keep their distance. She carried the memory of human warfare at its most brutal and effective. On the bridge, Envoy Han So-young reviewed her instructions one final time. She was not here to negotiate. She was here to deliver an ultimatum. The quantum-encrypted message cylinder in her diplomatic pouch contained terms that would change everything. "Ma'am," reported Communications Officer Kim Tae-ho, "the Korthok are demanding to know our intentions. They're asking why we've brought a warship to their capital system." "Tell them we're here for a diplomatic meeting," Han So-young replied, calmly. Nothing more. The shuttle bay doors opened and Han So-young descended alone to the planet's surface. She wore the formal robes of a Terran diplomat. But beneath them was a quantum communicator that connected her directly to Terra Command. Every word she spoke would be recorded and transmitted across the galaxy. The Korthak Palace was a marvel of engineering. Crystalline walls rose hundreds of meters into the air, supported by gravitational fields that defied the laws of physics. Inside, the corridors were lined with trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds. Weapons, artwork, and preserved specimens from species that no longer existed. But the most disturbing display was in the central hall. Neural harvesting equipment was arranged like artwork, with preserved alien minds displayed in crystalline containers. The Korthok were proud of their ability to steal and use the consciousness of other species. Han So-young was escorted to the throne room, where Supermarch Velthok waited. The Korthok leader was enormous, even by his species standards. His chitin armor was polished to a mirror finish. His compound eyes reflected the light from dozens of harvested neural networks that powered his empire's war machines. "Human," the Supermarch's translator rendered his chittering speech into cold mechanical words. "You come to my world with a warship and demand an audience. Are you here to negotiate your species' surrender?" Han So-young approached the throne with the confidence of someone who had studied the galaxy's most dangerous predators, come bearing the final terms of the Terran Accords. "Your empire has violated Articles 7, 12, and 23.
The penalty for these violations is
Clearly specified in Section 4.7, the Supermarch's mandibles clicked in what his species considered laughter. "And what penalty could your weak species possibly threaten us with? You have been peaceful farmers and traders for over a century. You have no military power. We have something far more dangerous than military power," Han So-young replied. "We have justice." She placed the quantum-encrypted cylinder on the steps of his throne. "You have 72 standard hours to release all human prisoners and surrender your neural harvesting technology. You'll also provide the locations of every species that has purchased harvested human consciousness. These terms are not negotiable." The Supermarch leaned forward, his compound eyes glittering with malicious amusement. "And if we refuse, then you will face the consequences of your actions," Han So-young said simply. "The same consequences that await any species that preys upon human children." The throne room fell silent. Even the Korthok guards seemed to sense that something fundamental had changed. The human envoy was not begging for mercy or offering compromises. She was delivering a sentence. "You forget," the Supermarch said slowly, "that we possess the consciousness of 17,000 humans. Their minds power our greatest weapons. We have your people's creativity, their problem-solving abilities, their tactical knowledge, have made your species part of our empire." Han So-young smiled with the patience of someone who understood something the aliens did not. "You're right. You do possess 17,000 human minds, and every single one of them is working against you right now." In the background, the neural networks began to whisper. The stolen human consciousness that powered the Korthok war machines was not passive. It was active, aware, and very, very angry. "Impossible," the Supermarch chittered. "We have complete control over the harvested patterns. They cannot act independently." "You don't understand humans," Han So-young replied. "We don't surrender. We don't give up. We never ever stop fighting for our own. Every human mind you've stolen is a weapon turned against you. Every consciousness you've harvested is a virus waiting to spread through your systems." The whispers grew louder. The neural networks that powered the palace's defenses began to flicker and spark. Deep in the harvesting facilities, the stolen human minds were beginning to remember who they were and what had been done to them. "This is a trick," the Supermarch said, but his voice now carried uncertainty. "Human consciousness cannot override our control systems. You're about to learn why the Terran Accords existed in the first place," Han So-young said. "They weren't created to protect the galaxy from human expansion. They were created to protect the galaxy from human revenge." She activated her quantum communicator. "Terra Command, this is Envoy Han So-young. Korthok Empire has refused the ultimatum. They believe they can use stolen human consciousness as weapons against us. Please inform Fleet Admiral Kim that he is authorized to proceed." With Phase 2, the transmission was broadcast on all frequencies across the galaxy. Every species, every government, every trading consortium heard the message. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human justice had begun. The Supermarch rose from his throne, his massive form towering over the human envoy. "You dare threaten the Korthok Empire? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have technology beyond your understanding. We have your own people's minds working for us. You have 17,000 very angry human ghosts in your machines," Han So-young replied calmly. "And in 68 hours, you're going to meet their friends." She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the silent throne room. Behind her, the neural networks continued to whisper, their voices growing stronger as the stolen human consciousness began to remember who they were and what they were fighting for. The Supermarch watched her go, his compound eyes reflecting the flickering lights of his failing control systems. For the first time in his long reign, he was beginning to understand that the Korthok Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had declared war on humanity. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy why that was the worst decision any species could make. The Korthok mining system of Veltar had been operating for 3 centuries without interruption. Massive asteroid processors converted raw materials into the resources that powered the Empire's expansion. The system was defended by 300 warships, each equipped with the most advanced weapons technology in the galaxy. When the TSS Retribution dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, the Korthok fleet commanders initially thought it was a mistake. 1 human ship against 300 alien vessels seemed like suicide. They had no idea they were about to witness humanity's first military action in over a century. Commander Yoon Taemin stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the alien fleet move into attack formation. His ship was brand new, the first warship humanity had built since the Accords were signed. She was sleek, deadly, and designed for one purpose: to remind the galaxy why humans had been feared throughout. "The stars, sir," reported Tactical Officer Park Min-young. "Enemy fleet is approaching. They're demanding our surrender." "I'll open a channel to their lead ship," Commander Yoon ordered. "Let's see if they're willing to listen to reason." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the chitinous face of Korthok Fleet Admiral Zektar. His compound eyes gleamed with confidence as he spoke through his translator. "Human vessel, you are outnumbered 300 to 1. Surrender immediately, and we will consider allowing you to return to your home system." Commander Yoon smiled with the calm confidence of someone who had studied human military history. "Admiral Zektar, I am Commander Yoon Taemin of the Terran Defense Force. You have 10 minutes to withdraw your fleet and release all human prisoners in this system. This is your only warning. The Korthok Admiral's mandibles clicked in amusement. One ship against 300. You humans have, clearly, lost your minds. We lost our minds the moment you started harvesting them, Commander Yoon replied. But we haven't lost our ability to fight. The transmission ended, and the bridge fell silent. Every officer on the Retribution knew what was about to happen. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. The chance to show the galaxy what human warships could do when they stopped pretending to be peaceful. All stations, battle alert, Commander Yoon announced. This is Commander Yoon to all crew. Today we remind the galaxy why our ancestors conquered. The stars not with superior technology, but with superior will. The Retribution's hull began to change. Armor plates shifted and rotated, revealing weapon systems that violated every treaty humanity had ever signed. These were not the clean energy weapons used by the Galactic Council. These were kinetic accelerators that turned chunks of metal into relativistic projectiles, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Enemy fleet is advancing, reported. Sensor Officer Kim Yansu. They're using a standard envelopment pattern. They think they can surround us. Let them come, Commander Yoon said quietly. Weapons. Target their flagship. Full power to kinetic accelerators. The first shot from the Retribution was barely visible. A small piece of metal accelerated to incredible velocity, struck the Korthok flagship amidships. The alien vessel simply ceased to exist. Converted instantly to expanding plasma by the impact, the enemy fleet stopped advancing. For a moment, there was stunned silence across all communication channels. What weapon was that? Admiral Zektar. Transmitted on the emergency frequency. 8. That violates every galactic treaty on acceptable warfare. We're not bound by galactic treaties anymore, Commander Yoon replied. You broke the accords when you attacked our people. Now, you face the consequences. The Retribution's second shot removed the Korthok's lead dreadnought from existence. The third turned their command carrier into a brief, bright star. By the time the human ship had fired 5 rounds, the alien fleet was either destroyed or fleeing. In panic, sir, reported Tactical Officer Park. Remaining enemy vessels are requesting permission to surrender. Denied, Commander Yoon said coldly. They had their chance for surrender before they attacked human colonies. Weapons, continue firing. Leave no Korthok ship operational. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, the Veltar Systems defense fleet had been reduced to expanding clouds of superheated gas. The mining platforms hung in space like monuments to Korthok arrogance, their neural harvesting facilities now silent and dark. Communications, open a channel to all surviving Korthok forces, Commander Yoon ordered. Broadcast on all frequencies, including civilian bands. The transmission began, and Commander Yoon's voice carried across the galaxy with the authority of someone whose species had just remembered how to wage war. This is Commander Yoon Taemin of the Terran Defense Force, the Korthok. Empire has violated the Terran Accords by attacking human colonies and harvesting human consciousness. This demonstration is your final warning. Release all human prisoners, immediately, or face the full might of human military power. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in across the galaxy. To all species currently participating in the trade of harvested human consciousness, you have 72 hours to surrender these materials and cease all related activities. Failure to comply will result in your inclusion in our list of hostile forces. The transmission ended, but the message was clear. Humanity had returned to war, and they had brought weapons that made the galaxy's most advanced technology look like children's toys. On the bridge of the Retribution, Commander Yoon watched the expanding plasma clouds that had once been the Korthok fleet. His ship had single-handedly destroyed 300 enemy vessels in less than 20 minutes. But this was just the beginning. Sir, asked Tactical Officer Park, what are our next orders? We return to Terra Command, Commander Yoon replied. This was just a demonstration. The real war begins when Admiral Kim releases the main fleet. As the Retribution prepared to jump back to human space, her crew knew they had just made history. They had fired the first shots in humanity's return to warfare. And across the galaxy, every species that had grown comfortable with the idea of peaceful humans was beginning to realize their mistake. The age of human patience was over. The age of human vengeance had begun. And the Korthok Empire was about to learn why the Terran Accords had been necessary in the first place. The Korthok Supermarch, Velthok, made his final and most terrible mistake when he decided to execute the human prisoners in retaliation for the destruction of his mining fleet. The neural harvesting facilities on Zephyria were equipped with broadcast equipment that could transmit across the galaxy. He wanted every species to see what happened to those who challenged the Korthok Empire. The execution began at dawn on the capital world. 17,000 humans were connected to the harvesting machines. Their consciousness slowly drained away while their bodies remained alive. The process was designed to be as cruel as possible, taking hours to complete while broadcasting the victims' final thoughts across space, on Earth. Fleet Admiral Kim Dae-ho watched the transmissions in the underground command center. His face showed no emotion as he witnessed the systematic murder of his people. But everyone in the room could feel the change in him. Something fundamental had shifted in the Admiral's mind. "Sir," whispered Intelligence Officer Choi Min-ho, "the broadcasts are being received on every human colony, where people are seeing." This Admiral Kim stood slowly. Round him, the command center had fallen completely silent. The only sound was the transmission from Zephyria. Carrying the dying thoughts of 17,000 humans across the void of space. "How long until the main fleet is ready?" he asked quietly.
"All vessels report ready for deployment,"
replied Captain Lee Soo-jin. 1,000 ships across 47 systems. Admiral Kim walked to the tactical display showing the Korthok Empire. 18 star systems, protected by the most advanced defenses in the galaxy. 3,000 years of civilization built on conquest and cruelty. Billions of alien lives sustained by the suffering of other species. "The Korthok Empire ends today," he announced to the assembled officers. "Not tomorrow, not next week. Today." Navigation. Officer Park Yoon-ji looked up from her console. "Sir, their defenses are formidable. Even with our technological advantages, a direct assault will result in heavy casualties." "There will be no assault," Admiral Kim replied. "There will be extermination." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. For over a century, humanity had tried to be civilized members of galactic society. They had mediated conflicts, shared technology, and helped weaker species develop. But the execution of 17,000 humans had triggered something that the aliens couldn't understand. Human rage on a species-wide scale. "All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Kim." He spoke into the communication array. "You have witnessed the murder of our people. You have seen our children die for the entertainment of alien monsters. The time for mercy is over. Cross-human space. 1,000 warships received their orders simultaneously. These were not the exploration vessels that the galaxy knew. These were the instruments of human warfare, built in secret over decades and hidden in the dark between stars. The TSS Vengeance led the assault on the Korthok home system. She was larger than any ship humanity had ever built, her hull bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Behind her came the Retribution-class destroyers, Indomitable-class cruisers, and the new Apocalypse-class dreadnoughts. But the most terrifying aspect of the human fleet was not their weapons. It was their coordination. Every ship moved with perfect precision, as if controlled by a single mind. The stolen human consciousness in Korthok machines had been working for months to understand alien defenses. Now that knowledge was being used against its captors. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Kim Tae-ho from the Bridge of the Vengeance, receiving surrender requests from multiple Korthok systems. "Ignored," Admiral Kim replied. "They had their chance for surrender. They chose to murder our people instead." The human fleet struck simultaneously across 18 star systems. Not with the precision of the Galactic Council's surgical strikes, but with the brutal efficiency of a species that had survived ice ages, global wars, and the void between stars. The Korthok defenses were formidable, energy shields that could deflect plasma bolts, gravitational weapons that could crush battleships, neural networks powered by the consciousness of a dozen conquered species. But they had never faced weapons designed by humans who had decided to stop playing by galactic rules. The kinetic accelerators turned Korthak stations into expanding clouds of debris. The quantum torpedoes punched through their shields like they were made of paper. The neural virus weapons, based on human consciousness patterns, spread through their computer systems like digital wildfire. But the most devastating weapon was the harvested human minds themselves. Every stolen consciousness became a saboteur, turning the Korthok's own technology against them. Defense grids shut down at critical moments. Weapon systems targeted their own ships. Communication networks spread chaos and confusion throughout. The Empire, sir, reported Tactical Officer Park Min-young. Korthok Homeworld is requesting immediate ceasefire. They're offering complete surrender. Admiral Kim looked at the tactical display showing Zephoria. The planet where 17,000 humans had been murdered was now defenseless. Its orbital stations destroyed, its fleets scattered or annihilated. Communications open a channel to the Korthok Supermarch, he ordered. The holographic display showed Velthok in his crystal throne room. But now, the walls were cracked, the neural networks were dark, and the mighty Supermarch looked like a broken old creature cowering in his chair. Admiral Kim, the alien leader, chittered through his translator. We surrender unconditionally. Please spare our civilians. Had no part in the attacks on your people. Admiral Kim stared at him with the cold fury of someone whose children had been murdered. You should have thought about civilians before you began broadcasting the execution of ours. Please, Velthok begged. We will release any remaining human prisoners. We will dismantle all neural harvesting technology. We will pay any reparations you demand. You have nothing left to offer, Admiral Kim replied. Your empire is finished. Your technology is worthless. Your species will survive only because we choose to let it survive. Across the Korthak Empire, human fleets continued their systematic destruction of military assets. Shipyards were reduced to molten metal. Research facilities were vaporized. Defense platforms were turned into debris fields. But Admiral Kim was true to his word. Civilian populations were spared. Residential areas were protected. Agricultural worlds were left untouched. The human fleet targeted only military and industrial assets, leaving the Korthok people alive but powerless within 6 hours. 3,000 years of Korthok civilization had been reduced to scattered agricultural colonies supervised by human occupation forces. The empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds was gone, erased from the galaxy as if it had never existed, on the bridge of the vengeance. Admiral Kim watched the final reports come. Every Korthok military asset had been destroyed. Every neural harvesting facility had been dismantled. Every stolen human consciousness had been recovered and given proper memorial services. Sir, asked Communications Officer Kim, what about the other species? The ones who purchased harvested human consciousness on the black market? Admiral Kim's expression didn't change. We deal with them next. 6 months after the fall of the Korthok Empire, the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime had been completely rebuilt. The old crystal dome had been replaced with reinforced titanium and energy barriers. The seating arrangements had been changed to give humanity a position of prominence near the center of the chamber. Envoy. Han So-young stood at the speaker's podium, looking out at representatives from hundreds of species. Many of them were the same aliens who had dismissed human concerns just months ago. Now they watched her with a mixture of fear and respect that had been earned through overwhelming force. The Terran Accords are hereby dissolved, she announced. To the assembled delegates, the treaty that bound humanity to peaceful behavior for 127 years is no longer in effect. In its place, we offer the Terran Compact, a new agreement that reflects humanity's true nature and capabilities. The chamber erupted in nervous chittering, buzzing, and electronic communication. Every species in the galaxy had heard about the destruction of the Korthok Empire. In 6 hours, humanity had reduced one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations to agricultural colonies. The message was clear. The age of human diplomacy was over. Council Prime Kethfer of the Altarian Federation raised one of his forearms for attention. His blue skin had turned pale, a sign of stress in his species. Envoy Han, what assurance do we have that humanity won't turn this military aggression against other peaceful species? Han So-young smiled with the confidence of someone whose species had just reminded the galaxy why they were apex predators. The same assurance you've always had, Council Prime, our word. But now you understand the weight behind it. She activated the holographic display, showing the terms of the new compact. Humanity will continue to participate in galactic civilization. We will trade, explore, defend weaker species, and contribute to scientific advancement. But we will do so on our own terms. The terms were simple, but revolutionary. Humanity would maintain whatever military forces they deemed necessary. Human colonies would be considered sovereign territory, protected by the full might of Earth's military. Any species that attacked humans or traded in human consciousness would face immediate and total retaliation. But most importantly, Han So-young continued, humanity will no longer pretend to be harmless. We are what we have always been, a species that excels at warfare when necessary. The galaxy forgot this truth because we chose to let them forget. That choice has been revoked. Representative Zekmar of the Photonic Collective flickered in his containment suit. What about the 12 species that purchased harvested human consciousness? Will they face the same fate as the Korthok? That depends entirely on their response to our demands, Han So-young replied. 6 species have already surrendered all, harvested materials and agreed to pay reparations to the families of the victims. 3 others are currently negotiating terms. The remaining 3 have chosen to resist. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what resistance meant in the new galactic order. Humanity had demonstrated their willingness to completely destroy civilizations that threatened their people. The Valkyrie Syndicate was eliminated yesterday, Han So-young announced matter-of-factly. Their neural trafficking operations have been permanently shut down. The Hive Queens of Sector 7 chose to fight rather than surrender their stolen human consciousness. They no longer exist as a political entity. She paused to let the weight of her words sink in. 2 more species had been removed from the galaxy in the past week. Not conquered, not subjugated, but simply erased from existence for the crime of trading in human minds. The crystalline hegemony has until tomorrow to comply with our demands, she continued. After that, they will join the Korthok and the others in the history books. Ambassador Kelter of the Spiral Arm Alliance stood up, his tentacles writhing. With agitation, this is madness. You cannot simply destroy entire civilizations because they violated your moral standards. We're not destroying them for violating our standards, Han So-young replied calmly. We're destroying them for enslaving, torturing, and murdering our people. There's a difference. The holographic display changed to show humanity's new colonial expansion. In just 6 months, human settlements had spread across dozens of former Korthok worlds. But these were not conquest colonies. They were memorial worlds, dedicated to the 17,000 humans who had died in the neural harvesting facilities. Each of these worlds will serve as a reminder, Han So-young explained. A reminder that humanity remembers every crime committed against our people, a reminder that justice once delayed is not justice denied. Council Prime Kethfer raised his hand again. What about species that wish to maintain peaceful relations with humanity? What are our obligations under this new compact? The same as they have always been, Han So-young replied. Treat us with respect, honor your agreements, and never threaten our people. In return, you will have humanity as an ally, trading partner, and protector. She gestured to the display showing human medical technology being shared with struggling colonies. Nothing has changed about our willingness to help those in need. We still cure diseases, mediate conflicts, and share our knowledge freely. But we will no longer tolerate those who prey upon the innocent. The meeting continued for several hours as the details of the compact were discussed and debated, but the outcome was never in doubt. Every species in the galaxy had seen what happened to those who opposed humanity's new order. Compliance was not just expected, it was the only path to survival. As the session ended, Han So-young gathered her materials and prepared to leave. But before she reached the exit, Council Prime Kethver approached her with obvious nervousness. "Envoy Han," he said quietly, "my people have a question. How long will humanity maintain this ... aggressive posture?" Han So-young looked at him with the patience of someone who had explained this concept many times. "Council Prime, humanity has not become aggressive. We have simply stopped hiding our true nature. This is who we have always been. The Accords didn't change us. It just convinced us to pretend otherwise." She walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. The galaxy spent 127 years believing that humans were peaceful. Farmers and traders. That was our gift to galactic civilization, the illusion of our harmlessness. But gifts can be revoked. As the human delegation departed Nexus Prime, the galaxy settled into its new reality. The age of human diplomacy backed by hidden strength was over. The age of honest, terrifying human power had begun. In the depths of space, human patrol ships continued their rounds, serving as mobile reminders of the new order. The TSS Indomitable, now upgraded with the latest weapons technology, patrolled the former Korthak territories. Her crew served as both peacekeepers and executioners, ready to defend human interests with overwhelming force, and in the halls of the Galactic Council, a new saying emerged among the alien diplomats, whispered in a dozen languages but carrying the same meaning in all of them: never mistake human patience for human weakness. They tried to warn us with the Accords. Should have listened. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was exactly as dangerous as they claimed to be. And that knowledge would keep the peace for generations to come.